Hello everybody, Doc Jean Gruder here, Doctor of Physical Therapy, and I'm your foreign educated physical therapist guide to US application. So I hope you guys are doing great, okay? So today what we're going to talk about is one of the ways that you can protect your license, okay? And that is how to develop rapport with your patients or your clients, okay? So way back then when I was starting here in the US as a physical therapist, I was the only physical therapist in the facility. No one was mentoring me or walking me through the process on how to do a physical therapy evaluation, daily note, progress notes, discharge summary. It was a self-learning experience. I read the previous documentation, then I, tried to do my own, and I also have guidance from the company. They will audit my documentation and give me, of course, constructive criticism. So it was really a hard learning curve for me as a physical therapist, okay? So that's why if you are, starting here in the US and you do not know how to do a documentation, so that's why I made the master class. So I have that USPT dynamic documentation master class, walking the foreign educated physical therapists on how to do physical therapy evaluation, how to protect your license, at the same time giving high quality care to your patients or to your clients. So if you need a mentor for that, if you need guidance for that, so you will not present yourself as someone who do not know what he is doing in front of the patient, in front of the rehab director or therapy team, that USPT dynamic documentation is for you, okay? So check out the link down below, okay? So I didn't have any mentor. It was a hard learning curve for me, and so one thing that you really can do here in the US is not to have the mindset of I know it all, okay? So that's the death of your clinical practice if you have I know it all attitude, because if you're starting here, you do not know it all, okay? You have to have an open mind, an open heart to learning, okay? Learn from your mistakes, learn from constructive criticism from the auditors of your report, from the rehab director, okay? Because they audit the report, especially when you're starting, okay? And when you're under an employer or under an agency, they can have an annual assessment on how you're doing as a physical therapist as part of the team, okay? So when I was starting, it's like, okay, how can I show my rehab director that I know what I'm doing? How can I show this patient that I'm a physical therapist, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm saying, okay? How can I show to my team that I have an idea of how to do this or how to do that, okay? So if you notice, the statement is like, how can I? It's focus on the I, okay? So that's normal, I guess, process in the learning curve. But as you develop your clinical experience, as you open your mind and your heart to learning, it's no longer I, but it's about the patient, okay? So driving to work, I always, pray and ask God for wisdom to give me the wisdom on how to help the patients on my list for that specific day, okay, for the day, okay? Give me wisdom on how to help these patients, okay? So if you put your heart and your mind and your soul in the right space, in the right direction, that you are there not to show off of who you are. You're a physical therapist, doctor physical therapist. It's not about that, but you are there to serve your patient. You will be good, okay? You will be guided. Your mind will start working on how to solve the problem of your patient. So that's number one. That's one of the most important thing that I learned, through my career as a physical therapist. You have to put your mind, your heart, your soul in the right space. You are there not to show off, but you are there to serve your patient. You're there to serve your client, okay? Number two, Um, how many visits, sessions do you think it will take before you can develop rapport with a patient? Okay, keep that question in mind. I will answer it later. Okay, so back in school, we were educated that one of the best defenses against lawsuits is developing rapport with the patient. And that is true. I will also add having a solid documentation is also very important, okay? Developing rapport with the patient. So, I started my career as an on-call physical therapist 6 years ago, okay? So, being an on-call, okay, just a side note, on-call or PRN physical therapist is not for those who have exclusive contract with agencies or employer. Those who are new here in the US and you have a contract with your agency or employer who petitioned you, you cannot do an on-call or PRN physical therapy job with other companies. Okay, you have to finish your contract with your agency or employer. Okay, so anyway, so it's a challenging job because you have to be very flexible to the changes. It's like working in an office with different co-workers every day, different location every day, different clients or patients every day. So you have to be very flexible, okay? And you have, of course, you have to be competent in what you do, okay? You have to know what you're doing, okay? Because if not, then the rehab director will not call you again, okay? So it's hard for me at first, okay, trying to figure out how can I develop the rapport with the patient, because especially when they are used to the team or whoever the therapist they're with for X number of weeks or days they've been in the facility, and they're looking for that patient and they're disappointed because they're looking for that therapist and they're disappointed that that therapist is not the one seeing them for today. Okay, so that's one of the challenges as a physical therapist, a PRN. Okay, but what I have learned throughout the years is that I have a golden question. Okay, my golden question is, Mr. Smith, what is the hardest thing for you to do right now? Okay, so what do I mean right now? Like, what do they struggle with right now? I mean, moving wise, okay, from getting out from bed, from sitting to standing, walking, their balance, okay? So what is the hardest thing for them to do? Walking up and down the stairs, okay? So with that question, the patient will tell you what are they struggling with, okay? And you have to listen. For example, the patient will say, well, when I'm standing, I'm good, but from sitting to standing, it's really hard for me to stand up. Okay, so as a physical therapist, if the patient tells me that, what are the things that will pop out of my mind? So the calf muscles or plantar flexors, most of the time are tight. The hamstrings are tight. The quadriceps muscles are weak. The hip extensors are weak for force production. Okay, so in order for me to check whether my hypothesis or the reasons for the difficulty from sitting to standing are correct, I will check and quickly assess the muscles. Okay, does the patient have limited dorsiflexion? Are the hamstrings tight? I will assess the power of the quads, the knee extension, the leg press of the patient to assess quickly if the patient has good force production. And then ask the patient to do the task, to sit to stand, and observe how the patient is doing. So if I saw that the flexors of the lower extremities are tight, then I will stretch it. If the extensors are weak, then I will strengthen it. Okay, so the moral of the story is listen to your patient. Okay, you have to be there to listen. What are their greatest struggles? Okay, what are they struggling with or their difficulty? And try to address that the best way that you can. Okay, even for just that day. Okay, so if you're a PRN, sometimes you just see a patient once. and then when you return to the facility, they're no longer there. So grab that opportunity that you saw them even for that day, answer their questions, okay, address their need the best that you can. And that's one of the best way to develop the rapport with the patient, because if you ask the golden question, it makes the patient think that, oh, she cares for me, she cares what I'm having problem with. And then when you address that, then all the more that they will think, oh, this person is a good therapist because this person asks what I need and address my need the best that he or she can. Okay, so as for my experience, that's how I develop rapport with the patient. And to tell you honestly, of course, not all patients, not all patients I will win their heart the first time I see them. Some patients are really hard, they don't like you, they don't want to work with you, they want their other therapist. It's all good, okay? You cannot force everybody to like you. But for those who really can see that you are someone who care and you are there to serve their need, then they will appreciate you, okay? So I have had many instances that the patient will say, what's your name again? So will I see you tomorrow? When will you be back? And then I will explain that, oh, I'm just an on-call therapist. I don't work here regularly. I just came here today to help them out, okay? And some of them will be really sad and they will say, when will you come back? When you come back, will I see you again? Okay, so that is like the greatest reward, the sweetest fruit of your labor, when a patient really express their appreciation to you for what you did for them even the first time. So to answer the question, how many times can you develop rapport with a patient? You can actually develop good rapport with a patient with just one visit, okay? But of course, to do that, you have to have, number one, again, your heart, your mind, your soul should be in the right place, that you are there to serve the patient. Number two, you have to hear your patient. And then number three, address their need, okay? So for another example for you guys is that a patient with dementia, okay? So some patients with dementia are not cooperative at all, okay? Especially if they have behavioral deficits, okay? But I find some of them, it's like when they say, oh, I'm cold. And if you just say, oh, okay, do you need a jacket to make you feel warm, or a blankie around your shoulder? If you address their need, or if they say, I'm thirsty, I want water, and you have to check if they don't have restriction with thin fluid before you give them anything, okay? Make sure that you have that covered before you give any patient anything. Ask the nurse, check the file, check the record if they are not a choke hazard or choke precaution against thin liquid, okay? So if you address their physiologic need, okay, and it's within your scope of practice, and you check if it is safe for you to do, they will actually feel that they can trust you, okay, that you will win their cooperation, okay, that they will agree with what you want them to do for therapy, okay? They will cooperate, most of them, not all, again, depending on the patient, okay? So it is very, very important that you address the need of your patient. Ask the golden question: what is the hardest thing for you to do right now? Okay, and address their need the best that you can within the scope of your practice. Of course, in order for you to do that, you have to have a good experience or a good continuing education, on how to better yourself. So, for example, for me, I went back to school. I'm not telling you to go back to school. It was just my personal choice because I thought that I will go back to teaching to a regular school, okay? But I'm teaching now online, okay? But anyway, I went back to school to be a doctor of physical therapy with geriatric specialization program training, okay? Because my specialty are the older adults. And I went to Evidence in Motion, highly recommended. And it helped me to have a more solid critical thinking, clinical judgment, give me much confidence as a therapist, okay, to plan the care of my patient in order for them to be better, okay, and address their needs accordingly. So in order for you to serve your patient better, of course, you have to make yourself better, the best that you can, okay, through continuing education, or if you want to read research studies about the condition of your patient or about certain exercise that you want to do with your patient, do the best that you can, so that you will be more knowledgeable as a physical therapist. You will have more critical thinking, good clinical judgment to be able to address their need. So yes, you can develop a rapport with the patient, okay, with just one visit, if you are in the right mind and heart setting, if you are listening to what they need, addressing their need the best that you can through the training that you go through, okay, and the experience that you learn each day with your profession. Okay, so I hope, guys, that helped. If you have, if you need help, if you're a fresh graduate or a foreign educated physical therapist and you're about to start the US practice here and you don't have any idea on how to do the documentation, how to do goals, okay, how to protect your license, hard-earned license as a physical therapist, the master class, the USPT Dynamic Documentation Masterclass, is highly recommended for you. Okay, the link is down below, and you can see, the reviews of the actual students who attended the master class, how they benefited from it, how they learned from it, and how that increased their confidence as a physical therapist embarking here to the US. But for those who are thinking of applying here to the US, you don't know how to start, you don't know how to proceed, what is the step-by-step process, what is credentialing, what is healthcare worker certificate, what is TOEFL for, and all those questions about USPT application, then turbocharged USPT masterclass is for you. Okay, that masterclass will save you thousands of dollars, will save you from mistakes that you can lose time, you can lose money, you can end up with frustration and misery because you didn't know what you were doing. Okay, if you want to be guided, if you want to save your time, if you want to save your money, to fast forward your learning, then the turbocharged USPT masterclass is for you. I explained in details the things that you should be knowing as a physical therapist, a foreign educated physical therapist, in that masterclass, and that is highly valuable information, that a good investment for you guys, so that you will be able to live your US dream sooner rather than later or not. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Watch out for the next masterclass. Be connected with our social media account. We have the JustUprightTherapy.us Facebook page, Instagram, okay, the YouTube channel, and the League of Excellent Foreign Therapists group. I make announcements there as well. Okay, you can ask questions there, and I also update about the US employers, masterclass, ebooks, and different announcements for foreign educated physical therapists. So stay connected with us. So if you have any other questions, clarification, comment, suggestion, please put your comments down below. I wish you well. I wish you the best. I wish for your success, guys. And until the next video, stay blessed.